the audience.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Can you tell us where you're joining us from in the chat section? Let us know where you're joining us from. What part of Georgia are you coming from? Okay, we got someone from Tucker. Everybody loves Tucker. Gwinnett County. We got someone from Gwinnett. Edgewood. Cobb County. Oh, I see Jackie from Cobb County. Hey, Jackie. We got Vinny from Rome. Yeah, I know Vinny. This means I've been in the Democratic Party too long, knowing all these people across the state.
All right, we're going to Facebook Live now.
Okay, great. Ready?
And Andrew, you can close your video.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is John Jackson. I'm the chairman of DeKalb County Democrats. I want to welcome you tonight to this, great forum with Daniel Blackman. I want to recognize our co-hosting counties, Clayton, Cobb, and Fulton. And I want to acknowledge the critical importance of the Public Service Commission race here in Georgia, because you'll hear more about the responsibilities and the roles of the Public Service Commission, but it affects your pocketbook. It affects your pocketbook tremendously. And we need good people like Daniel, qualified folks like Daniel on that Public Service Commission. We need to get him elected so he can make a difference for families across Georgia. We have some great moderators tonight. We have House District 89 Chair Carly Swift, and we have DeKalb Dems Treasurer Andrew Heaton. And we also are going to hear from the campaign tonight, from the campaign manager for Daniel Blackman, Emily Leslie. And I just want to remind you all to join our movement today. Get online at DeKalbDems.com. You can get involved. You can donate. You can phone bank, text, whatever skill set you have to offer. We need you. We need all hands on deck so we can win these 2 Senate seats and also get Daniel Blackman elected to the Public Service Commission. Go ahead and take it from here, Carly. Unmute.
Thank you. Thank you so much, John. We are so excited to talk to Daniel Blackman today about pocketbook issues. And as John already mentioned, we're going to hear from Emily Leslie, the campaign manager for the Daniel Blackman for Public Service Commission campaign. Emily's going to give us an update on the campaign and their plans to get Daniel Blackman elected. And then we're going to discuss pocketbook issues with the candidate, with Daniel Blackman. So if you have questions for Daniel, please put them in the chat, and Andrew and I will try our best to ask as many of the questions that come from our audience. So I'm going to kick it over to Emily Leslie, the campaign manager for Daniel Blackman for Public Service Commission.
Thank you so much, Carly. It's great to be here with you all tonight. And I just want to let you all know that at the Blackman campaign, we are, oops, let me start my video. There we go. But we're moving right along. We are, by their absence, I'm trying to try again, hold on. I'm going to keep talking. I'm having a little bit of technical difficulty with my camera, but I'm just going to keep going. So we have been able in the last several weeks to open a few new offices. We have begun campaigning our outreach program as far as canvassing goes. We are getting signs out to everybody, and we have built a robust and highly capable team of just incredible political activists and campaigners and staff that we're extremely proud of. And we have decided that we are going to be continuing with our grassroots strategy that we have kind of always stuck to. And Daniel has worked really hard to make sure that we've engaged properly throughout the state of Georgia. And we want to continue to do that. We have events coming up all the time, regularly. We try and be everywhere we can. And it's groups like the Cab Democrats and, Henry County and down in Valdosta and all of the Get Out the Vote rallies that organizers are holding all over the place, like people like Fanika Miller, everybody that welcomes us and does so much work for us. We appreciate that, and we would certainly not be in this position if it were not for all that on the groundwork. And we can't take any credit for being in a runoff without mentioning all of those amazing women, Black women who got us here. And thank you to you all. So, and a few updates. We have a couple of questions that come up quite often that I thought I would just knock out of the way while we have a minute. So a lot of people want to know about if Daniel, if they can vote for him or not. And this is a very common question. But yes, every single person, if you are a Georgia voter, you can vote for Daniel Blackman. You can, and that's all. Wait, and when can you vote for Public Service Commission? Election day is January 5th, and you can vote for him in person if you have an absentee ballot. And you see that you only have the Senate races on there, but not Daniel Blackman, please reach out to our campaign. We are currently working with the NAACP and several other organizations, as well as Secretary of State offices, to make sure that we get that sorted out so that every vote is counted. But we haven't had too much of that so far. If you are interested in getting involved with the campaign, you can reach out to myself or Paul, who's the deputy campaign manager, and our email addresses are emily@danielforgeorgia.com and paul@danielforgeorgia.com. And we also do have literature that is ready to go out. We have canvassing, or we have turf lists. We can set you up with phone banking. We have text banking now. So we're ready just to hit the ground running and go. And we have been working to try and get everywhere we can. So if you are watching this from a county that you haven't seen us yet, please join our Facebook group. It is called Elect Daniel Blackman, January 5th runoff. And you can get a lot of information there. We share everything out there. Also, DeKalb County Democrats have done a great job of making sure that they keep everything up to date through their website as well. So, and we're always available to reach out to. But and what is another next slide? Yes. And though Daniel, and I want to stress this again, Daniel is running for Public Service Commission District 4. However, it's a body. So every single person, again, I have to say it again, every single person can vote for Daniel in the upcoming election. So if you voted a straight Democratic ticket in the general, you've already voted for him once. So please vote for him again. And you should see him on your absentee ballot. We also have a lot of, and the counties that he does represent, a lot of people think that that if they don't live there, they can't vote for him. Again, not true. If you have sent in your absentee ballot already and you did not have him on your ballot, then you would have to go and vote in person. We are still working on reaching out to all of the local Democratic county or local parties and making sure, seeing what their days of early voting are. They do differ from county to county. So one thing that everyone can do is make sure that they're reaching out to their own individual Board of Elections and just making sure that you know what day you have early voting on. And we are trying to get that information and expedite it to everyone as soon as we can. And if there are, and we're always accepting volunteers, you can volunteer on the website as well. Just go under the menu to take action, and you'll immediately be sent a social media kit, and you will be sent phone banking lists that are county by county. And we do have a predictive dialer. And so whatever you want to do, we welcome all skills. Everyone has a place in this campaign, and we appreciate all the support that we've gotten so far. And it's just been a really, really fabulous experience. And so we're happy to be able to have the opportunity to talk a little more about this race tonight and how important it really is. Next slide. Like I said, your ballot should include all three, and it should look exactly like you're seeing on the screen. And for the Public Service Commission, you're going to see at the top, Lauren Bubba McDonald. We do have a debate coming up with him on the 10th that will be, that we will put out information about, that will be streamed. So make sure to catch that. And then you'll of course see Daniel Blackman underneath him. But this is what your absentee ballot should look like. So if it doesn't look like this, take a picture of it, send your name and your address and phone number. If you like, you can send that directly to myself or Paul, and we will get it directly to our legal committee. And make sure that we deal with it now. It's better to do it now rather than later so that we don't find ourselves in a crunch. And any questions about that? As far as drop boxes go, I think DeKalb has a really great example of, they have their drop boxes listed already. So if you, again, go to your Board of Elections, make sure you know where those drop boxes are. And we are calling about 10 boards a day, making sure that we have that information as well. We just want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity. I know it can be confusing, and it certainly has been for us. What counties they are focusing in? What counties are we focusing on right now? So we actually are focusing, our main strategy going into this was to work our way outside the Metro Atlanta area and work our way in. For my part, I spent most of my time in southern Georgia, coastal Georgia, and then all the way up through Houston, Macon, Bibb, Newton. We've been in Henry a lot this last week, but we in Chatham County, so a lot of, and then we've gone up to Hart County. So we have been pretty much, we still have a lot of stops to make. But we are concentrating our efforts in places that, right now we've opened an office near where I live, here up in Gwinnett County, where we believe that we can do better with turnout. And we know that, the communities there, we are trying to do some really deep canvassing and deep work and organizing that we've been working on for years. So we believe that we really can turn out the vote there and sort of make it a community movement and a community-led turnout effort. And we're really excited about that. But that's what we're focusing on. So that's going to be in DeKalb. You'll also see us down in East Point. We are focusing in counties that may have trended red and might be turning a little purple, but we are basically going anywhere where there are votes on the table, we will be there. So we're going to be looking at Dooley County is coming up, Macon, the city of Macon. We have, and always check our events page. So we'll be doing Valdosta, we recently did. I will be back in Brunswick on the 5th. So we're pretty much everywhere. Is there a pump? Yeah, there have only been, I'm answering a question just from the chat really quick. All Georgia votes for, yes. So every Georgian can vote in this particular race for sure. The only problems, we've only had 2 ballots so far come in that have been missing Daniel's name on them. So we were able to collect the information and get it to the proper committees and legal committees and the Secretary of State and deal with it pretty quickly. And that's all we've heard so far. But if you do run into that problem or you hear of anyone, please reach out to our campaign. I will leave my, or the Gwinnett County NAACP, please reach out and let them know. I will leave my, my information. I think it's already in here, but please reach out to us and you can reach us through the website as well. But yes, there hasn't been much of a problem yet, but we anticipate seeing a little bit more of an uptick in that as we see more absentee ballots come out. Next slide. And, oh wait, back one. Back one more. I think I missed this one. Okay, runoff voting timeline. Sorry, I skipped this one earlier, y'all. So right now you can request your mail-in ballot. December 7th is your voter registration deadline. December 14th, early voting begins. Take a friend, take 2 friends, take 3. Make sure that we're talking to people about voting and make sure that we are being personally accountable for that. We have a real opportunity to make sure that John Ossoff and Reverend Warnock both make it to the Senate, and the path to the Senate is victory and the PSC. And we truly believe that. And we want to make sure that we get everyone out we possibly can. The nation is watching, and I think we're all pretty ready to do this. So early voting begins December 14th. So there are a ton of events everywhere. Go to them, take friends, get out there, get excited. And then on January 5th, after Christmas, after all the holidays, where you are going to sit around your tables discussing these issues with your family and the PSC race and why it matters, you are then going to go and vote with as many people as possible. And he will also, and this is a good point, somebody said he's the only Democrat on the PSC. Yes, he would be. And also Daniel would be the only Democrat, I believe, to win the a statewide race. And correct me if I'm wrong, but the only Democrat to win a statewide race. And yes, that's on the PSC. And in the only first and the first African American man to be elected to this seat, and I say elected, not appointed, elected to the seat in 141 years. So, and he's incredibly qualified. And I don't need to talk any more about his character because he is here and he can do that himself. Thank you so much for listening to me. And I'm going to go ahead and kick it back over to Carly. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Emily. That was such a great overview of what's happening on the campaign. I see that Daniel Blackman has joined us. And so I'm going to bring in my co-moderator, Andrew Heaton, and we're just going to talk about the pocketbook issues. Again, if you have any questions that you want us to ask, please put them in the chat and we will definitely try to get to those. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you so much, Carly. Daniel, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And I think this is an appropriately titled forum, Pocketbook Issues, because there are few elected positions that really can impact somebody's everyday pocketbook and monthly budget more than the Public Service Commission. And I think some people have a hard time kind of grasping that. So let's start off right at the top level and let's talk about where it hits most, utility rates. And I think a lot of people just assume like, well, the rates are what the power company tells us they are. And that's all that's all we can do about it. So why don't you tell us and tell everybody watching a little bit about utility rates and how the Public Service Commission can actually impact those?
Hey, everybody. First and foremost, I need to make sure they know who I am. My name is Daniel Blackman, for those that don't know me. My mother and father immigrated here from Barbados, so I am the son of immigrants, grew up in Columbus, Georgia, and I am proud to be the Democratic nominee for the Public Service Commission. As Emily Leslie so eloquently stated, there hasn't been a Democrat elected in Georgia in almost 20 years to a statewide constitutional office. And it's of the utmost importance, and it's a privilege and an honor for myself and for my family and I to be your nominee and to be a part of this process. So the reason why the Public Service Commission is so important is because they regulate your utilities. In other words, the amount of money we pay on our gas and our light, those decisions are made by 5 individuals who serve 6-year terms and make $120,000 a year. And I place an emphasis on that because it is one of the most significant and most powerful bodies in the state of Georgia. And these individuals are really responsible for driving our energy future. By trade, I've been on the investment side, but also a climate activist. I've driven investment and opportunity towards fighting climate change. I agree with the science, and I know fundamentally that candidates like myself that run for the Public Service Commission have to understand that down ballot elections, especially those that impact our pocketbooks, are of the utmost importance. Too many senior citizens on a fixed income have to choose between their medication and their light bill. Too many families around this state are dependent on energy. Georgia has the 5th highest electric rates in the United States and the 8th highest utility rates in the country. What that means is that on average in the United States, an individual pays 5% of their paycheck towards their utility bill. But in Georgia, upwards of 18% of our paychecks go towards our utility bills. So it's very important for me to make sure we're fighting for individuals around this state to make sure they have access to, quite frankly, energy that can help sustain life. And I'll end with an example. I recently read a story of an individual whose power has been cut off for over 78 days. This gentleman is a diabetic, and he relies on his insulin to be refrigerated. But as we all know, when your power is cut off, your refrigerator is cut off. So this gentleman has to drive each and every day or have his daughter go out and get ice to put in the cooler just to keep his insulin cool. Georgians are suffering at a dramatic rate. And while we know a lot about the 23 million Americans that run the risk of being evicted, over 205 million Americans run the risk of utility disconnection in 2021. So I'm proud and privileged to be on the ballot, and I'm looking forward to the conversation, and I'm looking forward more than anything to January 5th.
Great. That awesome answer, Daniel. Carly, I think you've got the next question for us.
Hey, Carly.
Hey, Daniel, how are you?
I'm
Again, thank you
good.
for joining us.
I'm envious of your
Great,
Christmas
thank you for
tree.
joining us. Well, not the first person that said that, but we have to have something to be happy about in this time, in this year.
Yes,
But I have a question for you around internet deserts, digital deserts. So we know that there are many parts of Georgia, specifically in rural Georgia, where there's no internet service or there's not high-speed internet or affordable high-speed internet.
That's right.
And with COVID and the push to remote work and school, it's so important that everyone in the state have access to it. So I'm wondering, I know one of the issues that you talk about is the digital divide and high-speed internet access. What is your plan if you when you become a member of the PSC to actually help end that issue in Georgia? And what can the PSC do?
Yeah, well, my team and I have seen it firsthand. We've been to over 62 cities in the state of Georgia, and more often than not, we end up going through dead spots, areas where people can't use their telecommunication for first responder services, areas where kids are in the parking lots of Burger King and Wendy's and McDonald's for 5 and 6 hours on end because they don't have access to do their schoolwork at home. So they've got to go somewhere where there's wireless broadband. You know, in February of this year, the FCC released $20 billion of investment. That money is significant because it's supposed to go and be deployed throughout the United States in areas like Georgia, and it's supposed to help us to answer and alleviate the challenges that we're facing in these areas. Now, let's be honest, lack of access to high-speed internet and wireless broadband, it poses many threats. It poses a threat to our kids K through 12 in education, especially when we all realize and understand that 88% of Georgia's prison population reads at a 3rd grade level. If our kids can't learn, the consequences and the long-term impact are not in their best interest. It doesn't matter if you're a Black kid in a zip code in Metro Atlanta, or if you're a white kid or Latino kid or Asian kid in rural Georgia. The bottom line is a person's income should not determine their children's outcome. We cannot put ourselves in a position where we're falling further and further behind. Georgia, especially rural Georgia, coastal Georgia, North Georgia, especially areas like Raven County, Lumpkin County, and Dawson, we're seeing an adverse challenge, an obstacle, because kids and families just don't have access. But we can't leave out our small businesses as well that are determine their business success on online transactions. We can't leave out our senior citizens who rely on online services for telemedicine. I have a family that is in a position where we're very privileged. We have 5 or 6 computers in our home with working internet. Well, the average family that may have a computer, because I remember reading a story of a county in South Georgia, and they said that they gave out laptops, and they said that within 2 weeks, they were finding the laptops in pawn shops. And what happened was, number one, the folks didn't have internet at home to be able to use it. But number two, parents had been struggling so hard that they just needed a couple of dollars to keep the lights on. So we have to remember, it's not just about the issue, it's about the face of the individuals that are being left behind. I was very privileged during the Obama administration to have worked with Michelle Obama on her food desert initiative with the Let's Move campaign. And that was the first time I ever heard of a food desert. So when I got into the energy policy sector in early 2010, and I began to see these areas specifically in rural parts of our country where counties and communities were literally being left behind because they weren't wired, it disturbed me. And we all know on this call that the majority of these areas that are left behind are low and moderate income communities. And too often, there are areas with high numbers of Black and brown residents that are disenfranchised and, quite frankly, left out of the conversation. So on January 5th, we can change that. And I'm going to work extremely hard to make sure that that 6-year term is about expanding opportunities with our historically Black colleges, our community colleges, and our technical colleges to lead the effort in making sure that we have the research, but we also drive the investment into areas that are really left out of the conversation.
Thank you. Andrew?
So Daniel, one thing I find interesting, I've had a chance to see you on the stump a couple times now. And one of the things that I always appreciate is you kind of infuse your own personal beliefs, especially around things like civil rights. And I know an interesting part of your biography is you actually got to spend some time mentoring under Jesse Hill. Now, for those who are watching who maybe are not familiar with who Jesse Hill is, he was a civil rights activist for a long time in Atlanta, but then also has a point in his biography where he is the CEO of one of the largest the largest privately Black-owned business in America in the 70s, and just made a huge impact in Atlanta. And you had some time to get to mentor underneath him. And so I'm just wondering how that impacted you, how that time and how that infuses the work you do, even in a position like Public Service Commission.
You know, funny fact, Muhammad Ali's first fight after being in prison was Atlanta. And Jesse Hill was one of the architects to bring that fight into the city. When I got to Atlanta, I was a young kid attending Clark Atlanta University. I maybe had one button-up shirt, and the rest of my wardrobe was some jeans and whatever else I had in my closet. And one day, so I had 4 mentors from 19 all the way up to, you know, this year. Three of my mentors unfortunately passed away this year: Reverend C.T. Vivian, Reverend Joseph Lowry, and Congressman John Lewis. So I all met through my relationships with Reverend Gerald Durley and Jesse Hill. These individuals really embraced me at an early age because I was available. There were, you know, maybe 2 or 3 of us that were in college at the time. I happened to be in the right place at the right time. I met these individuals when Maynard Jackson was working extremely hard to get Shirley Franklin elected. Shirley is a great friend of mine who I was on the phone with yesterday. And Mayor Franklin at the time was, you know, working very hard. She had a campaign slogan that said, "You make me mayor, I'll make you proud." And Maynard Jackson was working on the American Voters League. And there was a group that Jesse Hill had started called Atlanta Quest. And the entire goal of Atlanta Quest was to make sure that Atlantans knew about the voting process, voter education, voter mobilization, and realistically, you know, the mobilization and activation at the polls was of the utmost importance. I was able to see how individuals like Herman Russell and Jesse Hill, you know, use their stature to make sure that they included themselves in social justice. One of the last conversations I had with Maynard Jackson before he died, we were walking on Auburn Avenue, and we were walking near the statue of his one of his ancestors, John Wesley Dobbs, and he stopped to speak to a homeless man, and I had never seen a prominent individual just stop and have this conversation. I remember one time I came a little bit late to a meeting that Jesse Hill invited me to, and in the meeting, there were these amazing individuals like Zernona Clayton and Janice Mathis and so many civil rights icons. And he sat there and he looked at me and he said, "Son, don't ever come to a meeting late again." And he said that to me in an encouraging but correcting way, where I understood that the moment that I was in and what was being poured into me at an early age would help to shape the person I became because of many of those of you that are on this call today. So I want to thank you for the question, but to many who I may not know is on this call that had a role to play in my development and in the development of so many other young leaders that are growing and becoming candidates and just phenomenal people, just thank you, because Jesse Hill, Reverend Vivian, Reverend Lowry, John Lewis, they planted the seed. But many of those of you on this call and those who voted for me, you guys are the ones that helped to elevate me to where I am today. And I want to thank you. And you're the reason why we'll be successful in January.
So Daniel, I wanted to get us back to talking about the economy and energy. One of the things that you have talked about and issues that are important to this campaign is around protecting today's workers and preparing for tomorrow's energy workers. And so I'm wondering, as a member of the PSC, what are you going to do? What can the PSC be really doing to ensure job security in the energy workforce? And how can green energy play a role in that?
Well, look, I mean, you know, first and foremost, you know, I'm proud to be endorsed by the AFL-CIO. They believe in working families. They believe in jobs. They believe in creating an environment where there's safety for their workers and for folks that are there. But let's be honest, you know, we have not prepared the next generation for the jobs of the future. That's why one of our plans, if you go on to danielforgeorgia.com, we talk about bringing historically Black colleges and community colleges and technical colleges into the fold, because we want to build a workforce of the future that reflects a clean energy economy. My grandfather, who was a diplomat to the United Nations, my family again is from Barbados. So my grandfather served the United Nations. He retired as a consul general to New York from Barbados, and he was a part of the sustainable goals. One of them which said, we are well able to meet the needs of the present without compromising future generations to meet their own needs. So for me, that ideology is how I desire to govern, making sure that we're making the decisions now that have an impact on future generation, on my children, on your children, on our grandchildren. We have to set those things up now. The only way we do it is by setting policies, running for office, or working in our communities as advocates to educate, but also to inform and make sure that those ideas are cultivated. One of the reasons why I was so excited, outside of the obvious reasons, to vote for President-elect Biden was because he committed back in March of this year $2 trillion to fighting climate change in the United States, with 40% of that money, 40% of $2 trillion going towards environmental justice around the country, specifically towards low and moderate income communities that were overwhelmingly impacted by the climate crisis and by environmental justice issues. So that to me is a motivating factor. And if we're not aligning with those policies now, look, the science says we don't have 20, 30 years to fix this problem. The science says that we're in the now moment where we have to fix the problem. And I want people to understand the importance of the Public Service Commission. This position is not only important because of our utilities, this is the preeminent position in Georgia that can directly impact the climate crisis. So for all of us that believe in fighting against climate change, for all those that believe in clean air and clean water, for all of those that believe, for instance, with the coal ash cleanup that is going on right now, which is a $500 million bill to Georgians like you and I on this call, we need to make sure that we understand why these areas are important. And the only way we can do that is by educating the next generation, preparing a workforce to sustain it, and making sure that those in labor have the support they need and the ability to transition. One example I'll give really quickly of that is autonomous driving in the next, I think it's 7 or 8 years, is gonna make 3.5 million jobs obsolete. I want people to understand what that means. 30 years ago, you may have been able to get by without a high school diploma. You may have been able to go to college for a couple of years and still find a good job. But automation, coding, AI, those technologies are now replacing the labor that we are so privileged to have had. And what COVID-19 has shown us is that we are not prepared and not in a position to transition those jobs that we know are coming into an environment where our young people and generations to come can transition into.
Daniel, I want to pick the thread a little bit on something you just mentioned there, because you threw out a phrase that has been mentioned a couple times in the trail, but I don't know how much average Georgians think about it and understand the impact on the state. So let's talk about coal ash, and let's talk about just point blank. A lot of folks don't even understand really. I'm sure they could theorize what coal ash is, but talk a little bit about coal ash, what it is, why it is so impactful here, especially in the state of Georgia. I know just in August, the city of Juliet residents there actually had to bring suit against Georgia Power regarding a coal ash pond near their city. But I think for a lot of folks here in the metro area, they can't, it's hard to understand really what's being talked about and what's at stake. So could you just talk a little bit about that and the role that fighting pollution plays could play from the Public Service Commission?
Yeah, I think it starts with the city you mentioned, which is Juliet, Georgia. Not only has Erin Brockovich, who, if you follow the environmental movement in the United States, not only was a filmmaker after her, but Erin Brockovich has become a preeminent voice in the climate justice movement and in fighting environmental injustice around the country. But Vice News and HBO went and covered Juliet. CNN has covered Juliet. And what we don't understand is too often what harms us the most. Earlier this year, the EPD and the EPA of Michigan was fined $600 million. and a settlement that went to the people of Flint, Michigan as a result of the Flint water crisis. But in Georgia, we have some of the most contaminated waterways because, quite frankly, we have been the leading state as it relates to the import and export of coal and coal ash. And I want people to understand that these areas that have polluted our waterways have a direct impact on our systems. Plant Scherer, which is right outside of Juliet, Georgia, which has been decommissioned, but Plant Scherer, for example, emitted so much coal ash into the atmosphere that it went into our waterways. When coal ash, which is formed as a result from burning fossil fuels, gets into our waterways and our waters are not lined, it causes a tremendous health risk. I mean, if you just Google Monroe County, Georgia, and uranium, you'll see that they found uranium in the well water of Juliet, Georgia. Okay, now I want people to understand this. These individuals are in such a challenging situation that they won't drink the water. I mean, the water that they have in their communities, they go out and buy gallons of water because they don't trust the levels of lead and mercury that are in their drinking water. So we have to understand that what has happened in Georgia over decades has now culminated in a $500 million bill to clean up the coal ash. Now, here's the problem with that. The coal ash cleanup in Georgia is not the responsibility, even though it was the effect of Georgia Power and Southern Company, it's not their bill. Their shareholders don't have to pay for cleaning that up. We have to pay for it. And I don't know the last time that it was a just thing to do when someone else created a problem that we are responsible to fix. And I think that is a tremendous burden and injustice on the people. And it also came out recently that unfortunately Georgia Power has been buying up land to prevent the challenges and the regulatory the issues they may face as a result of the coal ash cleanup. While I don't think that may be, considered a criminal act, it's very deceptive, it's very disingenuous, and it puts people in communities in a position where they're going to continue to struggle. And in this time that we're living in with COVID-19, with so many children struggling from asthma, before COVID-19, more days were missed in the United States due to asthma. As a matter of fact, Black and brown kids in the United States get asthma 3 times the national average. And in Georgia alone, we have about a 2 times higher risk of asthma rates in rural Georgia than in most other rural parts of our country because of our low air quality. So coal ash, even with the Obama administration into the Trump administration, hadn't even been deemed as hazardous waste. And that's one of the first areas I'm going to call upon the Biden-Harris administration to change. I was very fortunate to serve with Gwen Keys Fleming. She was out of DeKalb County. She served as the Region 4 administrator for the EPA. I worked with Gina McCarthy. I had a chance to work with my good friend, Mustafa Santiago Ali. And we worked hard with the coal fight in the United States and in poor and underserved communities. And I plan, when I'm elected, to make sure that we hold the Biden-Harris administration accountable, to make sure that we can expedite this cleanup so that communities can have dignity and have the respect they need to be able to breathe clean water, clean air, and drink clean water.
Absolutely.
The pause threw me off.
Huh?
I said the pause threw me off a little bit.
No. That was a short pause. Nobody even saw it, realized it happened. Can you talk to us? I just learned that you went to the Vatican for the Pope's climate encyclical. Can you talk to us a little bit about what that was and how that experience impacts you wanting to be on the PSC and what you plan to do when you become a member of the PSC?
That was a life-changing experience. There were 72 nations invited, and 3 of us were from the United States. I was privileged to have been nominated to witness the Pope Francis give the encyclical on climate change ahead of the Paris Climate Accords. And the Pope basically gave a message on global unity around an opportunity to address the climate crisis from an interfaith perspective. We were privileged, 3 of us were from the United States, and we were privileged to be with people that were from areas that were drastically hit. We were from folks that were representing Australia, that had, recently faced brush fires. We were with folks from the Fiji Islands whose land was sinking due to sea level rise. We met with folks from Africa, from Romania, from South America. We met with people from all over the world. And there were two things that really hit me. The first was to see how many people around the world were young and were committed to the global fight against the climate crisis, that were able to convene. And it was an interfaith group. It was called the Climate Convergence. And we had a chance to spend time with a few of the Pope's cardinals. And then we had a chance to go to St. Peter's Square at the Vatican. And we had a chance to meet with Muslims. We had a chance to meet with Buddhists, Christians. Every faith was represented. And it was life-changing because it gave me a chance to be able to understand that the climate fight is not just about good policies. It's not just about heads of state that meet at the G8 summit. It was about making sure that the interfaith community and civic organizations and emerging leaders had an opportunity to raise their voices against the challenges that we faced as a planet, not just the United States. When I found out that the United States, even though we are, a fifth of the global population, or, whatever the number is, we're 50% of global waste. There are only 322 million people in the United States. There's 7 billion people on the planet. And the United States, overwhelmingly, when it comes to emissions, when it comes to waste, look, we throw away 40 million tons of food every year. So when I was able to hear the Pope speak about global poverty, about the impact on third world countries, that really did something to me as an individual, not as a candidate, but as an individual that fundamentally believes in social justice and human rights. And I was able to be a part of the conversations with the Obama administration for the Clean Power Plan. We were able to witness the infrastructures being created with the Paris Climate Accords. And I hope that President-elect Biden will shift the United States back into an area where we can be a global leader in lowering our emissions over the next decade. It's going to take a lot of work, but I believe we have the right administration. I believe that John Ossoff and Reverend Warnock can help them with that narrative, and I look forward to helping them win in January.
Well, Daniel, I know we're about to wrap up, and I want to give you time to kind of make. I think everybody on here is already ready to cast their votes. So I don't know if you need to make a closing argument today. I'm sold. I've been sold. But let me give you one fun question to kind of cap off, and then you can go straight into closing argument.
Give it to me.
You filmed a show for Oprah.
Yeah, man.
Tell us about your television stardom a little bit.
Oh man, look, they filmed me and my family for 18 hours, and they only put me on TV for 3 minutes. So I mean, I'll take it. I mean, it was a lot of fun. I was the first African American to run for office in Forsyth County, Georgia. In 1987, Hosea Williams, Dick Gregory, Coretta Scott King, and many other leaders led a march in Forsyth County called the Brotherhood March. And Forsyth County at the time, there was a lot of challenges that were going on in this part of the state. And Oprah Winfrey's first ever show outside of Chicago was in Forsyth County, Georgia. And 32 years after her show, I became the first African American to run for office in that area. I'm proud to have been the chairman of the 7th Congressional District, where we just elected Carolyn Bordeaux to be our new congresswoman. We have changed fundamentally the face of the county, the politics of the county. I want to thank everyone around this state who played a role in that. But it was surreal, to have interactions with Oprah, to have had an opportunity to write to her and to correspond with her team, to be a part of the message and the story that cast the work we've done in a positive light. It meant a lot. And, I don't take that for granted. I think every time any of us have an opportunity to tell a story, anytime any of us have an opportunity to do work, it really puts us in a position where we should want to reflect the best of our society and not the challenges that exist. I live in Forsyth County, Georgia, because it's a great place to live and raise a family, and I'm going to continue to be here. But at the end of the day, just to be serious with you, man, I mean, it was very interesting to be able to film with Apple and with Oprah and with all these great people from around the world. It was a great project. And yeah, man, I mean, I enjoyed it. And my kids got to miss a whole day of school.
Yeah, well, and I just want to give a quick plug to anyone who's maybe not familiar with the episode from the 80s from the original Oprah Winfrey television show that he's talking about. You can still find it on YouTube, some of the clips from that show where Oprah came down to Forsyth County. And if you just want to get a sense, I mean, it feels like a time capsule, and yet it's just the late 80s. And to just see some of the things that were talked about on that show by residents of Forsyth County at that time, and to appreciate what Daniel's talking about and just how far we've come and how far we're going to keep going here in Georgia, feel free to look that up. But
can I give a shameless plug real quick?
Do it.
Stacey Abrams, shout out to Stacey Abrams. She got 26,000 votes in Forsyth County in 2018. We got 36,000 votes. So I want to thank everybody, Melissa Clink, everybody, man. I mean, Latricia Jackson, Eric Cohen. I mean, so many people, Wilma Martin. I mean, there were a lot of people that helped us to do this work. Wilma Martin Turner. There are so many people that helped us get Forsyth County to where it is. And I would be remiss to, I'm always trying to plug people that helped me to get to where I am. I didn't do it alone, but I am very honored to see Forsyth County begin a transition to what we know it could be in its full potential.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Carly, hand it back to you.
We want to thank you for joining us. Did you have any other comments, any other thoughts that you wanted us to take away? We want to give you the last word.
Well, I know that everybody on this call is going to vote. They're going to take a friend, a family member, 10, 20, 30, 40 more people, and we are going to break runoff numbers in the state of Georgia. But the very serious plea that I want to make to you is that while the Senate majority is of the utmost importance for the Biden-Harris administration, I will do everything in my power to ensure that John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock become our next 2 United States senators, and that the Senate majority becomes a very real possibility over the next 4 years. That is at the forefront of what I'm on the ballot for. But I want you all to understand the importance of a statewide constitutional office that a Democrat has not held in almost 20 years. The importance of us being able to identify with people in rural Georgia that don't understand the impact of these areas because they haven't been a part of our conversation. While I admire, and I love, I respect, and I admonish Fulton County, Gwinnett, DeKalb, Henry County, Cobb, Forsyth County, there are 159 counties in Georgia, many of which are not in the 22 county metro Atlanta region that are a part of this story. I wouldn't be in a runoff if it weren't for coastal Georgia, if it weren't for North Georgia, if it weren't for rural Georgia. So we have to understand that their work and their voice and their votes matter. You can go to danielforgeorgia.com to support our candidacy. That's DANIELFOR, and then Georgia, GEORGIA.com. If you want to reach out to me directly, you can go to Daniel Blackman at danielforgeorgia.com. If you have a media inquiry, you can go to meet, MEET, at danielforgeorgia.com. And look, pray for me, support me, vote for me, but more than anything else, let's make sure that we continue to support the people around this state that need our help the most. Don't forget about the hundreds of thousands of Georgians that are struggling to keep their lights on as we speak. Thank you, Georgia. Thank you to this group. I'm honored to be a part of this conversation and to be in the runoff to be your next public service commissioner in Georgia. Vote Daniel Blackman on January 5th. Volunteer, contribute. Please contribute to our campaign. Go onto our website, learn more about us, and we look forward to being successful in January. Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much, Daniel. This ends our Pocketbook Issues event. If you have questions, please look in the comments for links to the campaign website and also links to donate. I want to thank everybody on the DeKalb Democrats team who put this event together. Gloria Moore, John Jackson, and my co-moderator, Andrew Heaton. Thank you so much, and I hope everyone has a great evening.
Carly, I want to
Yes.
say I didn't do that to John, to Gloria, to all of you guys. They have been very much in tune. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I want to make sure they know how much I appreciate them. DeKalb, you guys got us into a runoff, and your leadership speaks volumes. So thank you.
Thank you. No problem at all. So this ends our forum. Thank you so much, and everyone have a great evening.